Welcome back to the Teacher's AI Cafe. I'm Kane, a teacher and a parent who wants AI to give us back our time. I share practical classroom-tested AI strategies to cut down your workload, improve your feedback and reduce stress so you can get your evenings back and be more present with your friends and family. No jargon, just actionable steps. Grab your mug. Now let's get going. Most teachers are not getting poor results from AI because their tools are weak. They're getting poor results because they keep rebuilding the same instructions from scratch every time. So today we're going to be comparing 3 AI customization tools for teachers, and we're going to cover Claude Skills, Gemini Gems, and ChatGPT's custom GPTs. The focus is going to be practical. We're going to look at which one's the easiest to set up, which one gives the most consistent results, and which one is best for lesson planning, resource creation, differentiation, assessment, and everyday teacher workload. These tools are all designed to solve the same problem. Instead of writing a long prompt every time, you create a reusable assistant that already knows what you want. For example, instead of typing, act as an experienced Year 8 history teacher, use Australian English, write for a mixed ability class, include a starter, reading activity, source analysis, extension, and answer key, you can build those instructions into a tool once. Then each time you use it, the AI begins with that context already in place. That is the shift from basic prompting to reusable AI systems, saving you lots of time. What are the tools? So Gemini Gems are custom versions of Google Gemini. So Google Gemini is Google's platform. You give the gem a name, you write instructions, you use it for a specific purpose. For teachers, that might be a lesson planning gem, a student feedback gem, or a parent email gem. So you make them very specific to what you want. On ChatGPT, we've got custom GPTs. Those include instructions, uploaded knowledge files, selected tools, and sometimes actions. For teachers, they can become resource builders, assessment assistants, curriculum planners, and writing support tools. Claude skills are more structured. A skill can contain instructions, files, references, even scripts. They're designed for repeatable workflows where the AI needs to follow a more detailed process. The simplest way to compare this is Gemini Gems are actually the easiest to create. ChatGPT custom GPTs are the most flexible for everyday teacher work in terms of the amount of content instructions you put in there. Claude Skills are probably the most powerful and very highly structured workflows. How easy are they to set up? For most teachers, setup time is what matters. But remember, when we do this once, they're repeatable skills, so we don't have to do them again. Teachers, you don't need another system that takes 2 hours to understand it before it saves you 5 minutes. So easy setups is really important. Gemini Gems are the easiest. Simply you just create one short set of instructions. For example, help me create Year 7 history lessons. Use clear language, include a starter, main, task, exit ticket, keep activities suitable for a mixed ability class. And that's what you put in there. And then the other prompts you put in there will build on top of that instructions. Custom GPTs take a little longer. You need to think about the GPT's role, its instructions, conversion starters, what files you're going to upload into it, whether you're going to tell it just use files you upload or allow it to use the access to the internet and other tools. This setup is manageable and they developed a really easy process. You can almost type instructions in there and it'll actually create them for you, or you can just go through and manually do it by filling in the different fields. Requires more thoughts, but it gives, I won't go into the results yet, but it does give good results. Claude Skills are the hardest to set up because they're more like building a structured workflow than writing a, say, prompt. So they can be powerful, but they're not the easiest starting point. There's a longer learning curve. So if we look at them in terms of order of ease, Gemini's, then ChatGPT, then Claude is the goal, is the order we're looking to do, depending on your skill. And of course, the platform that you're on. Now, the quality of results. Easy to set up is one thing, but no good's something be easy to set up if you're not getting the results you actually want out of it. So is there consistent results that actually come out of these? So Gemini Gems are useful for simple, repeatable tasks. They work well for things like drafting emails, generating lesson ideas, simplifying, creating short activities. For example, a teacher could make a gem such for low literacy text simplifier. The gem could then take a paragraph, rewrite to, say, Year 7 student level or low literacy, or you could pick a reading age, for example. Custom GPTs are stronger. The tasks, particularly the task's got multiple parts in there you want it to go through. For example, I did one for doing source analysis for students. They can upload files and it questions them, gets them to try and give things like messages, context, things like that. And then the next part, once they've got answers, it then reviews and gives them model answers so they can check their understanding. So a teacher could build a history worksheet builder that always creates a retrieval starter, short reading passage, vocabulary support, comprehension questions, source analysis skills, an extension task, and an answer key. And this will be this consistent format every single time you do it. It gives a very structured output. That's very useful, particularly if you're making similar type of resources, or you want to keep a consistent format through all the resources that you make to take that cognitive load off our students. Now, Claude Skills is the strongest in terms of workflow. For example, a teacher or resource creator can use a very specific format for every lesson. Claude Skills can help maintain that consistency. These are especially useful when the instructions are detailed and the task needs to be repeated many times. So Gemini is good for simple tasks. Chat is for strong, flexible classroom tasks. And Claude is for more complex, repeatable workflows you're putting in there. Now, the big question is, which one's actually best for teachers? For quick planning, Gemini gems are useful. Actually, before I get into that, depends what platform you pay for. What I haven't included in this is Copilot, and a lot of schools use that. A lot of schools use Gemini. A lot of people pay for ChatGPT. There's been a big exodus to Claude around the ethical issues in the Defence Department. So what's best for teachers is, one, the platform you're using, and then that's pretty much it. And two, if you get a chance to change, then you may look at them in different details or the level of complexity that you're doing. Anyway, get back to what we're doing. So Gemini's gems are useful. Teacher might use Gem to create 5 lesson ideas, simplify text, and so on. For full resource creation, I would actually go for ChatGPT's custom GPTs. They can handle longer instructions, more consistency. You can upload your examples in there, which is fantastic. Upload your model lesson in there and it can draw on that all the time. Absolutely fantastic. And you can just tweak it for different output modifiers very easily. And this is especially useful for teachers regularly create lots of worksheets, assessments, lesson sequences. And over time, obviously, it learns itself as it goes through. Now, for advanced workflow design, Claude Skills are the strongest option, but they suit teachers who want more of a systematic process. It might include teachers creating commercial resources, heads of learning who are building consistent assessment templates across a large different learning areas or different subjects within the learning area. And educators want one reliable workflow. They repeatedly use it again. And the simple way thing is, Gems, simple stuff. Custom GPT, when the task is broad, you can do that. And Claude, if you're looking for very highly focused, consistent skills within that. Now, what do we put one together? So let's compare the 3 tools with one example, which is creating a lesson on the Black Death. So Year 8 teacher wants to create a lesson on the Black Death with GEMS. We might put in there, create a Year 8 lesson with Black Death with a starter, reading activity and exit ticket. The GEM would likely produce a clear, usable lesson outline that would be fast and simple. Now ChatGPT, the teacher would be a more complete resource, and you might ask it to make the learning intention, success criteria, check for understanding, retrieval tasks, short reading passage, glossary, comprehension questions, source activity, paragraph writing scaffolding, and answer key with that. Now with that, you'd have to upload and specify all those particular details. Actually, if you want to do that consistently, you would then drop all your resources in there and all the background information, and it'll create that structure for you. Or if it's something you can do all the time, you would actually load up in your custom GPT and draw on that. So you could upload your model lesson plan template, so with all that criteria, and then what the AI is doing is simply putting different context and within that learning, that subject that you want to do is just say, if you want to do cause of the Black Death versus the impact of the Black Death, you could use the same template and background information by just tweaking the command there. Now, Claude skill, you go in further. Like I said, the skill is, if it's properly designed, could follow a specific school resource or even a teacher resource format every single time that you're doing it. Now, so simply when you go in there, you'd select, this is my prompt, and you select the skill within Claude, and it'll apply that skill to the prompt that you're doing in there. And if we think about this, it's always best for different teacher needs. is simply the fact that for a new AI user, GEMS is actually a really good starting point, or just standard prompts or saving your own prompts in the other platforms. Now, for a teacher using something like custom GPT, they've really taken the next step up from simple prompts to creating a consistent workflow or resource they can reuse each time. And once again, we're talking about Claude skills at advanced, but like I said, the problem is Claude skills take a lot more time to actually set up and actually get right. And you can actually use Claude and AI or the other different platforms to actually create your skills, because you've got to create them and then import them back into Claude to make sure you get that right. So there's a lot more trial and error building those Claude skills up. But once you've got them forever. So what are the strengths or weaknesses in general? So Gemini is strong because they're simple, easy to set up, especially for teachers working in the Google ecosystem I've already mentioned. Weaknesses, they are not deep or flexible in options, but you can develop them very quickly, faster than, say, a ChatGPT custom or a skill. You can have lots of different custom ones. You can take 5 minutes to build one. You can then use AI to create the content to build these gems, and you can do it very quickly. The way I like doing it is, so ChatGPT is I explain verbally, because it saves people the typing, exactly what I want it to do, and then get it to create the tool that I actually need to do that from that, and then I customize it and then use it. Okay, ChatGPTs, they're good, they're versatile, they're very consistent, because obviously you're uploading a lot more models and actual practical work within the actual custom GPT itself to draw on. Weaknesses, I guess, if GPT is poorly designed, you're going to get inconsistent results in there. So you need to be very precise in terms of clear instructions and provide it with good examples with which to build upon. And like I said, Claude is the most versatile, but like I said, it requires a lot more skill and knowledge and steps to go through to actually create your skill in that, because they can be quite complex and quite detailed. So which one gives the best results? There's no one single winner, because it depends what you want to do as a teacher. And I would say if I'm using GEMS, I can do it just as quick in the other two platforms, because GEMS is essentially creating that context for me and the role for a person. And I can quickly do that in ChatGPT, or even, for example, just explaining it verbally too. I don't need to type anything. And Claude skills, once again, you can do that. But like I said, it takes longer to set up compared to the 3 different platforms for that. Now, recommended workflow. The best approach is not to build 20 custom tools, because the idea is you want to pick 1 or 2 key components in your workflow and get the automation on that. Over time, you may develop a completely automated process, but at this stage, let's pick one and get that one actually working right. For example, there might be differentiated reading passages, parents' emails, building lesson starters, assessment rubrics. So you pick one area that you do repeatedly, and by employing these tools, you can save actually lots of times for it. And the idea is you do one task, like I said, something you do every week, and build the tool for that. And for most teachers, it's going to be something like a classroom activity from such and such topic, rewrite this text for a lower level, create feedback comments from this rubric. You're going to pick those repetitious tasks that we need to do all the time that add to our workload. Now, once you get one that works, you understand the process of actually creating them, you get consistent results out of it, and you've even improved on what you started, and you can start adding more specific examples, adding more formatting rules, add things that AI should avoid. Remember, talking to a teacher yesterday, and they were using Notebook LM to generate, for the first time, some slide decks, and I said, and doing a graphic novel format or showing you how to do it. And the fact they said, talking about what you wanted to do wasn't doing things, but then I had to explain to her, you also got to explain what you don't want it to do, things you wanted to deliberately leave out. And that just adds to a good prompt. But once again, as we work through these, this is where even basic AI assistant becomes very useful for us as individual teachers. So one last recap. Geminis are good for fast, simple, repeatable tasks. Custom GPTs, more for more complex lesson creation where you got lots of different elements in there. And Claude, if you've got the time to structure it, can actually be for an entire workflow, repeated workflow coming through that. Like I said, Gemini is easiest to use. Claude is the most difficult. And therefore, I would suggest going having a play with the different ones till you find which platform they use, or if you're on a particular platform, that's what you actually concentrate on. And then if we look at the most people using which particular platforms, for most people, ChatGPT, custom GPTs, is probably a really good middle-of-the-road option where it's not basic. At the same time, it doesn't have the setup requirements of what you do in Claude Skills. It's more powerful enough to do really serious classroom work. Like I said, but it's still accessible and easier setup. And that's where I would sit with them. That's one of the reasons why I've been playing a lot with Claude, and I'm working towards doing an episode round setting up Claude with skills and everything for teachers, building it out there. But like I said, that's actually quite a work in process. It works very different to ChatGPT in terms of its setup, whereas I can knock up a custom GPT very quickly for what I wanted to do and just use it over and over again, or use it within a project context, for example. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. I'd love to hear feedback of which one you actually prefer to use. Till then, keep experimenting, keep looking after your students and yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.